What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today me and Cody are knocking out the clutch on a 2007-2008 fit. Just figured we'd make a quick video showing you how to do a clutch on a fit. So here we go.
I'm ready. Are you ready? Woo! Woo!
Let's do this. All right, so we got the wheels off. They're 19 millimeter on the lug nuts if you have stock lug nuts. So now we got to take off the axle nuts. These are 32 millimeter, and then take off the knuckle here so that we can get the axle out. So it looks like both sides of that are a 19 millimeter. All right, so we got the spindle part here. The axle is slid out. So we're gonna take this sway bar end link off here just to make it simpler to get this axle out. I think I can get it out without actually taking that end link out, but just for simplicity's sake, I'm just gonna go ahead and snatch it out. This is a 14 millimeter. If it wants to spin on you, you can put an Allen right there in the middle of it and hold it, and then turn this with a wrench. But I'm just gonna put an impact on that and see if I can get it out real quick. We got the sway bar end link off. I wound up having to use this Allen. Is a 5 millimeter just to hold that steady while I turn the nut off. And so we just removed the drain plug from the transmission and drained the fluid out. It used a 3/8 ratchet and put it in like the little square head of the drain plug, and you can pull that out, drain it out, and then put the drain plug back in it. This is the drain plug. All right. So put that back in there, and then we can pop these axles out with a pry bar. So just get a pry bar, and let's see. So what we're going to do is just get a pry bar and put between the transmission and the axle here, and just pull out on it. Let me get this one over here, maybe a little easier to show you. So just pry it right out, and then we'll do the same over here and get this one out. The thing we're going to do on the bottom here is these two 14s that hold this mount here to the body. We're going to take both of those out because we're taking the transmission out from the bottom. So we'll go ahead and pop those two out real quick. All right, so the next thing we got to do is we got to get this dust plate off of the bottom here. So it's just 310 millimeters. And then we got to take out these two 17 millimeters that hold the engine to the transmission. And then there's also the 17 millimeter right there we got to take out. And there's one right here too. All right, so we wind up having to take the little bracket out here. It's this bracket here that loops the axle. 310 millimeter bolts. This bolt's right here on the back of the block. And take that out in order to get to this bolt. And then once we got that one out, we went ahead and took out the 17 millimeter here that holds the rear mount. So, all right, and then the last bolt we got to take out on the bottom is a 17 millimeter right here. Now we're going to let it down and start disassembling the top side. Next thing we got to do up here up top is we got to take out the battery, we got to take out the airbox, and everything else to get down to the transmission. So the airbox is held on like a 10 millimeter here. There's a 10 millimeter right there, and then we get the clamp on the throttle body. So that one has a Phillips head in the middle of it, but I prefer to use the actual socket for it. All right, so that's a 5.5 millimeter. So the Phillips head likes to that's good. The Phillips head likes to strip out sometimes, so I just prefer to use that actual socket. It don't strip, right? All right, so now we just got to take off like the tubes here and like the little sensor here, the air temp. And then we can get the rest of this crap out. Disconnect the battery. It's a 10 millimeter on that, 10 millimeter on that one over there. And usually they have the little clamp over it. Like this, got little J bolts. Yeah. All right, so now we got the airbox off and the battery out. So now we can get like to the shift cables. So you see they have some 12 millimeter bolts. There's one right there, one right here, one right there, and then the shift cables can come off of so the whole bracket comes up here, and then we're going to take the little cotter pins out here to get them off. All right, and then once we get the shift cables off, we've got to remove the clutch line. So you see the clutch line comes in here. It's got a 10 millimeter bolt like right there, so we can take that off. And then I'm also going to take off this radiator hose support. So it's 10 millimeter here and 10 millimeter on the ground strap. And then the clutch slave has two 12s here. And then we're also going to take off probably there's a bracket here that holds these wires, or we can just take the wires off of it. And then like the wire here for the reverse sensor. And there's a wire back there for the speed sensor. So we're going to take that off too. And then transmission should be about ready to come out. So we got the shift cables loose, we got the clutch slave loose, all the wiring's off of it. So now we just got to take out the one bell housing bolt. Here we put a jack under the oil pan just to hold the engine from falling down once we take out this bolt here that holds on this side mount. So that one's a 14 millimeter. And once we take that one off, we can lower the jack and it'll let the car down and take out the one bell housing bolt, the 17 millimeter, and transmission should come out. All right, so I wound up taking the two nuts off the mount here, also that one, and then the bolt that's here, there's all 14. And also we're gonna take out the battery tray. So it's 3 12 millimeters, 1, 2, 3. All right, so I moved the transmission a little bit forward, but now I gotta get this bracket here off. And so now with the drop down, we can get to those two 12 millimeter bolts here to take that off. So before we couldn't get to them because of the frame rail. All right. So I got the transmission out. It took a little wiggling to be able to get it clear, but it came out. And now I'm just gonna swap out this clutch. So those are 10 millimeter 12-point bolts. Like that, and then we just pull this clutch off and switch it out. Oh yeah, that's real good. Flip it over.
Real good.
Flip the disc over there.
Trying to get it out.
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah.
All the life. We got their money's worth out of that one. All right, so now we got to change out the throwout bearing. And to get that out, basically take the So basically just push the lever arm all the way back, all right, and then just pull right here, and it should come right out. And if it doesn't, just pull this off, this little spring clamp right here, just clips back in here, and there's two little grooves here on each side, where this clips back into, like that, all right. And then this is our new throwout bearing. It comes with a little grease pack. I don't know what I did with it. But anyway, you put a little bit of grease in there. Don't take a whole lot. All right, I put a little bit of grease right here on these 2 points too. That's where it makes it this fork. So it goes like this. Slide it back in here and push it back on the ball. And that's all we gotta do. You see it works freely. All right, and then the pilot bearing is here. If you want to replace that, just take out these flywheel bolts. Those are 12-point, 17 millimeter, and take that out and you replace this bearing from the back side of the flywheel. This one feels perfect, so I'm not going to replace it. So we're going to let that one ride. But I guess now we can get this transmission stabbed back up in here. Well, no, we got to put the clutch on, and then we'll stab the transmission back in. So on the clutch, you see how it like has this side here. So the offset side has to go in towards the pressure plate, and so the flat side goes towards the flywheel. Do it the other way around, it's not going to work. All right, guys, so it's the next day. We actually finished up the clutch on the fit, and we brought it up to my buddy's shop who has an AC machine. The AC's not working on it, so I don't have the AC stuff, and he does. So he's gonna look into the AC stuff and see if we can get the AC figured out. Got the clutch back in and got the transmission back in. Reassembly is pretty much right the opposite of disassembly, and hopefully now you can feel confident in doing the clutch in your fit. It may have been a little bit easier, just a disclaimer here, it may have been a little bit easier to remove like the subframe with the power steering rack and stuff. It just give you a little more room to work. And you know, maybe I could try it like that next time. This is the first time I've done a clutch in a fit, so yeah. Anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in. See you on the next.